Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to wait about 30 seconds just for everybody to join who's registered. We'll start the webinar soon. Okay, let's get going. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Boatica exhibition information session, where the team will unpack the plans for the event, which is scheduled to take place between the 1st and 3rd of October at the V&A waterfront. Please can I ask that you post your questions in the Q&A tab, and we will moderate all questions and get to them after the main presentation. The agenda for today, just a short welcome and introduction to the Boatica team. Then Vanessa Davidson is going to do a welcome on behalf of SABEX. Then we've got the Boatica presentation where we're going to run through everything, all the detail around the event with you. And Catherine's going to run through that. Then we've got our Q&A session. So again, just a reminder, questions in the Q&A tab. We will try and answer all the questions and we will curate those questions, but we'll get to it after the presentation. And then there's a quick poll, and literally it's a quick poll. There's one question, so you don't need to stress about anything. And then we'll go into a closing. So my name is Neil Piper. I'm the head of content for Messi Frankfurt, South Africa. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome and introduce Vanessa Davidson, the executive manager of the Boat Building Export Council of South Africa. She is also the first woman chair of the International Marine Certification Board. And Vanessa and Bruce Tedder of SABEX have played a really important role and a valuable role in building Boatica over the years. And as a team, we are most grateful for all their efforts and their support of this important industry event. Vanessa, I'm going to hand over to you now. So welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Good. Thank you very much, Neil, and to your team as well. And it's great to see everybody virtually as a participant list. And I think, firstly is great news that the V&A is keen to host the boat show again, even under COVID protocols. And if I reflect back on the last year, actually one of the positives I think from COVID is that boating has grown. It's a lot more people are choosing boating as a distanced activity. And I think if I reflect, I've had the opportunity over the last year to engage a lot more with ICOMIA colleagues, International Council of Marine Industry Associations. And what we're seeing is an alignment of boating with lifestyle activities. So for example, in the Netherlands, HISWA, which is the equivalent of SABEX, has merged with Recron. They did that in January 2020. We're seeing a similar trend in America with the Miami Boat Show incorporating lifestyle components from next year onwards. We're also, from colleagues, seeing a lot more boat sales reported. Sarah Angel, the president of ICOMIA, reported in Canada that skipper tickets doubled year on year from 2019 to 2020. And what I've also observed is that, internationally, the oceans and nationally, oceans are really getting a lot of focus at the moment. And then more recently, this morning, the president's announcement on the creation of a more independent TNPA, which I think will certainly be received well by the industry. So onto boat shows and onto Boatica. I think there's consensus all round we need in-person shows. Virtual shows are nowhere near as successful, but on the proviso that we come back safely and we come back cautiously. So I think with boat sales cooking worldwide, let's contribute to a positive African show. Let's get the sales rolling. And I think by adding ocean sports exhibitors, there will also be a wider audience that we'll be reaching in October this year. It's also easier for buyers to enter South Africa without quarantine at the moment. Things do change all the time, but I think, and maybe in closing to say, let's just kickstart summer in October with Boatica, and it will be fabulous to see everybody in person. And Thank you, Neil and the team. Look forward to working with you again this year.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And I love that. Let's kickstart summer with Boatica. That's perfect. Marketing and team are listening, okay? But now we're going to get on to the reason why you're all here today. And it's really to go through the plans that the team have put together for Boatica. I'm sure while we're going through the plans, we're going to address a lot of your questions and concerns that you might have just around safety protocols and all of that. But it's really, it's my pleasure now to welcome and introduce Catherine Frew. She's a portfolio director of Messi Frankfurt, South Africa, and she's the show director of Boatica Cape Town. And she's going to run through the plans that we put together. And then just a reminder, please, any questions that you may have, please just share them in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So Kath, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil. And thank you, Vanessa, for starting us off. It's nice to see everyone, although I can't see you. And I know that you can obviously see me. I'm sitting at home, so I'm going to apologize if you hear any children or dogs, but that's where I am right now. I'm sitting at home in this very stormy, cold Cape Town afternoon, and I'm very excited to take you through what we are hoping will be a very successful Boatica in 2021. I think the most exciting news for us is that we got the support from the city, and this is why we are considering even running this event this year, is that the city have very gracefully come through and said that they will support the event this year, along with the V&A, who we have taken through all of these this presentation, and they have agreed to everything as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to take you through all the health and safety protocols, and I'm going to take you through what we have presented. Please, if you have any questions as we go along, like Neil says, type it in the Q&A box, the chat box, and we'll get to them towards the end. So the show schedule, we will be building up the 20th to the 26th of September. The show is going to be running the 1st to the 3rd of October now, but the 20th to the 26th will be the marquee build-up. The 27th and 28th of September will be the contractor build-up, and then the 29th and 30th will be the exhibitor build-up with the accredited staff as well. This will run from 8 until 6 every day, and then breakdown will happen the 4th to the 5th, 8 until 6 as well. The event days, like I said, will be the 1st to the 3rd of October, which is the first weekend in October. The show times will be 9 until 6 on Friday and Saturday, and 9 until 5, or potentially even 4. We're still considering that time on the Sunday. So it's 3 exhibition days. We're going to have the venue and the floor plan I'm going to get to now to show you, but there will be 2 overflow venues that we want to show you, which will be for the safety restrictions and a VIP holding area as well. We're going to push as many visitors as possible to be pre-accredited, to pre-purchase their tickets, so that we can avoid any congestion at the entrances. I think in 2019, when we first had the 2 entrances to the show, it definitely helped. There wasn't much congestion anyway when we had the full show running then. So I think that the 2 entrances will definitely stick to. We're going to have that quick scanning process with all the 1.5 meter social distancing lanes in place at both the entrances, and then, like I mentioned, the 2 registration and ticketing areas for fast lane for pre-purchase ticket holders. So in terms of the protocols that we're going to put in place, we're going to make sure that all the entrances to the venue have checkpoints, making sure that all people know about the regulations. We're going to have border controls throughout the venue. So this means that we're going to monitor the amount of people in each zone of the whole exhibition. So this is going to ensure that we obviously stick to the directives given to government and whatever restrictions we are having at that time. We're going to make sure with our border controls that we stick to those. So we're going to have 3 to 4 meter aisles throughout the venue. We're going to have sanitizing stations. We're going to have dedicated safety officers per zone in the venue, and I'll get to the zones again now. In the marquee, we're going to split it, and we're going to have up to 10 additional openings in the main marquee for increased airflow. We've modified the layout slightly so that there's 6 checkpoints for scanning for each of the zones. And then throughout the venue, we're going to have signage and messaging telling people to stick to the 1.5 meters. We're going to ask them to continue to wear their masks and all the necessary signage that we'll have to have throughout the venue. So in terms of the zones, we're going to have 2 COVID screening at the entrances. So there'll be a COVID screening towards the knuckle side, and there'll be a COVID screening towards the aquarium entrance side. What will happen there, there'll also be the 2 entrances, like I said, and then each ticketing point will be split into 2 areas for social distancing. So there'll be a fast track lane for people who've pre-purchased tickets and a lane for people who need to still purchase tickets. And then there's 4 zones. So we're splitting into the blue zone, which will be the food and seating area, the green zone, which will be the main marquee or North Wharf, the yellow zone, which is the water, and then the red zone, which is the VIP and the knuckle space. So there's 4 border control scanning points at the entrance and exit of each zone, and each ticket or wristband will be scanned at each border point. So this means that we will be able to, at any time of the day, be able to know how many people are in each section. This will also allow us to manage the flow of visitors between the zones as well. And then there will also be 2 holding areas. So at the entrances, there'll be 2 holding areas. So if we do need to hold people from going into one of the zones, we can. So the holding areas will just be a space. If we already allocated or the full allocation of people are already in one zone, we'll keep them in a holding area and we'll move people around the venue accordingly. We're going to go into the big marquee. I'm going to show you 2 options here. This is the marquee as we've had it previously, where it's the big marquee on North Wharf. We will be having a single lane flow through each of the areas. So there'll be a one-way entrance and one-way exit. Then some points, there'll actually be areas where we'll be pushing people like the marquee space, potentially pushing them through the area twice, but there will be a one-way entrance and exit through each of the venues. You'll see here, you'll notice that here are the additional spaces that we will be keeping open for additional ventilation through the marquee. And then we have our entrance and exits like we did in previous years as well. On this slide, just so you know, the yellow is indicated the exhibitors we've already chatted to that are potentially interested, pending the restrictions we are talking about now, but that are interested. The green means people who've already booked and signed their contracts. So the second option we want to talk to you about is doing away with the main marquee and putting snow peaks up on North Wharf. A snow peak is just, it's a smaller type of marquee, but what we'll do is each of these marquees will be a 5x5, or they can be made bigger. They can't be smaller than a 5x5. We do have smaller options here in the middle of 3x3s. And the only thing that this does for us is it just means that we can classify the entire event as an outdoor event versus the marquee being an indoor event. So being an outdoor event, obviously we allowed more people on site, and it obviously is a lot safer for the exhibitors that are in the marquee as well, because they will be obviously in a smaller space and they'll be the ones managing their own space. What it also means is obviously that we've got a lot more open air space on the walkways. I just want to also show you on the next slide, there has been an event on North Wharf, which was the Pick and Pay Wine Festival a couple of years back. And they also did a similar situation. So you can see here the snow peaks that they did with the open air space in between. Ours would be very similar. We are investigating the cost of putting astro down. If it's not astro, it will be carpeting. But I think it looks very smart. I think it's a very good alternative to what we can do for the event. And I also think that obviously it's a change. So it's a change in what we've had previously. And I think it'll be something where people will be able to notice the difference in this year's event compared to the previous events. So this is the option that we are considering. Again, the reason we are considering it is one, because it allows us to classify the event as a purely outdoor event, which allows more people. And two, obviously changing the look and feel from the past 2 events that we've done. It's something new and fresh for our visitors to see instead of the same old that we've done the past couple of years. So then just going into what your snow peaks could look like. These are some options that our service provider GL has rendered for us. This is what some of the 5x5 snow peaks on the outside could look like. It would come as a basic package that we could add on to. The good thing about the Snow Peak option is that it is slightly cheaper than what it would be to have the main marquee, which brings down your exhibitor costs slightly as well. But these are just what some of the options that your 5x5 Snow Peaks could look like. And this would all come as part of the package, depending on which package you took. Then going on to the water floor plan, we have presented to the V&A to have the exact same water floor plan that we had in previous years. This is just an indication of what it could look like. Some of these exhibitors have not confirmed. It's just a mock-up of what it could look like. The only thing that we have been made aware of by the V&A is that there is some work happening to B-spine. Potentially, I think they're moving B-spine closer to the aquarium. So there is potentially some work that will be done here. We're still waiting to hear from them how it will impact the floor plan. And as soon as we know, obviously, we will lay this message on to all of the usual water space exhibitors. But at this stage, everything along North Wharf and the aquarium will still be going ahead. It's just this B-spine that we're waiting to hear about, and if we can join the square again. But we are looking at exactly the same floor plan, and we're investigating it with the V&A as well. We're going to go into the numbers now, and this is how we have looked at it and how we think that it could work. This is the worst case scenario option. On each of the options, we're going to be breaking down the day into 3 sessions. There'll be a 9 to 12 o'clock session with the sanitizing in between from 12 until 12:30. There'll be an afternoon session from 12:30 until 3:30 with sanitizing from 3:30 until 4, and then a late afternoon evening session from 4 until 6 o'clock. As a worst case scenario, based on level 2 restrictions, you're allowed 250 people indoors and 500 outdoors, as far as I remember correctly. Sorry, so 250, sorry, no, sorry, it's 250 outdoors and 100 indoors. But what we're saying is that if we use the Snow Peak option on North Wharf instead of one big marquee, and the entire event is then classified as an outdoor venue, we can have 500 people per session per day, which gives us a total of 1,500 people per day and a total of 4,500 people over the weekend. So this is the worst case scenario. Obviously, we don't know where the COVID restrictions will be in October, but being that we're currently in a 3rd wave, and if we follow the same trend, if we do get another wave, that wave should come November, December. So we'll be in a lull at that stage, and we should be back on level 2 or level 1 restrictions. So this would be the worst case scenario. If we go into the likelihood scenario, based on level 1 restrictions, we allowed 500 people outdoors and 250 people indoors. If we use the big marquee on North Wharf, then it would be classified as an indoor venue in the marquee and an outdoor venue outside. But if we use the Snow Peaks on North Wharf, then the whole event would be classified as outdoor. These numbers that you see here are based on the marquee being the big marquee, so 250 indoors and 500 outdoors. That gives us a total of 2,250 people per day, or a total for the weekend of 6,750 people. Then our best case scenario. There's just been a court case, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of it, that Huntex, another exhibition in Johannesburg, they took SAPS to court about their event that was scheduled to run at the beginning of June. And what the outcome of that court case was is that they are allowed to run their event at 50% of the venue capacity and not per government restrictions. We're hoping that this will be painted across all of the exhibition industry, and they will allow the same thing to happen for the rest of the industry, where they allow us at 50% of the venue capacity. And with 50% of the V&A's venue capacity, we will easily be allowed 500 people on the land space and 500 people in the outdoor space. So that gives us a total of 3,000 people per day, or 9,000 people over the weekend. And in this case, again, if we use the Snow Peaks, then the entire event would be classified as outdoor. If we look at it, including exhibitor and staff numbers. So in the marquee, we've calculated a total of about 120 staff that will be working on the stands. And on the water, we've calculated approximately about 90 people working on the water per day. So in the worst case scenario, without the staff and exhibitor numbers, it gives us 2,610 people coming over the weekend. In the likely scenario, without the staff and exhibitors, it gives us 4,860 people allowed through the venue over the weekend. And in the best case scenario or likely scenario with the Snow Peaks, it gives us 7,110 people coming through the event over the weekend. So to me, these two scenarios, the likely scenario and the best case scenario, the numbers are still looking really good. And this is obviously based on the restrictions that the government has already set. If we get allocated like Huntex did, where it's 50% of the venue capacity, we're looking closer to the 7,110 number. Then going into the marketing, I just wanted to give you a brief update on the marketing. We do have the marketing team on the call right now, but just to take you through it very quickly, the marketing mix that we would utilize consists of the following mediums that you can see, and this is to push the messaging to visitors and to create obviously awareness of the event. Just to go through a couple of them. The digital would be the social media and the Google campaign. The trade publications would include things like Sail and Leisure magazine or Ski Boat magazine. Radio, we would use Cape Talk and KFM. And then the exhibitor marketing, where we use your customized with your company in the logo and email signature, social media banners and website banners, and then digital invites for your clients as well. Direct marketing through our newsletters and our direct mailers and our SMS campaign. And then our out-of-home campaign, which would be the billboards and street pole posters. Attracting new audiences, we do this through all the more advertising, running competitions, ticket giveaways. So that's just a basic overview of some of the marketing that we would do. Just to take you through quickly our stats on social media. We've got a social media following of just over 21,500 followers currently, and we will have a comprehensive campaign in the run-up to the show, which will include the organic and paid and boosted social media. So an estimated number, we've got an established newsletter subscriber list of over 12,500 people as well. And we would keep pushing out those newsletters to visitors to keep them updated on the developments of the show. And these are the newsletter database comprises of past and potential visitors who have shown interest in the event, which we'll still push out to them. Then the marketing campaign. So the digital marketing campaign would consist of Google AdWords, the display, the remarketing, digital event listings, the distribution of press releases, and email and SMS marketing to past attendee databases. We have a comprehensive digital campaign in place to drive brand awareness and to drive engagement and to communicate the event and the content updates to these people. And then just a mock-up of what our flyers and our tickets could potentially look like. The flyers would be distributed to all the boating clubs. We also do it to the hotels around the V&A and the surrounding areas. And we would also hand these out to you as exhibitors to hand to your guest lists. And we'd also do a limited number of tickets to VIPs, to our VIPs. And obviously this would include any VIPs that you as exhibitors would want to include as well. So this is just an extract from a bigger, more comprehensive marketing campaign, just to give you an idea of how we would be marketing the event. We will go into more detail on this as we get closer to the show, but this just gives you a broad update. Then just to show you the content that we've planned, we definitely would like to go ahead again with the Sailing Academy, the supping, and potentially this year we'd like to add some kayaking. On the Friday of the show, we would like to host a dedicated media and trade day. And this would give you as the exhibitor an opportunity to book a 20-minute product launch or product demonstration session. We will bring the media around the show, and we'll take a roving PA system around with us with a lectern and seating for the media, and allow the media to sit and listen to each of these product demonstrations. The media tour of approximately 20 people would be taken around the show, and then it would end with a media and trade day, cocktail snacks in the VIP area. Then on the Friday, we'd do the little Optimus Sailing Academy. We'll have VIP yacht trips, and then we've had a very exciting potential sponsor that's come on board that would be doing a VIP campaign in the evenings on the Friday and the Saturday, and they would also be hosting some whiskey and champagne tastings. Then on the Saturday, we'd continue with the sailing, the supping, and the kayaking, and then bring in some of the usuals that you've seen in previous years: dragon boat racing, flyboarding, an NSRI demonstration. We will be bringing back the Great Optimist Race, which is very exciting. It'll be a reduced version of it, so maybe 10 to 15 boats this year instead of the 30 or 40 we had in previous years. We'll be doing flyboarding, we'll be doing kiteboarding demonstrations, motorized surfboards. So some of the stuff you've already seen before, but it's just some content to make sure that the water isn't static and that the show is as experiential as we can make it. Then on the Sunday, the same kind of things. The only thing we're looking at adding is a Boatica Celebrity Challenge. And as soon as we have more details on that, again, we'll share it with you, but it is an exciting new thing that we'd like to add to the show this year. So that just gives you a quick update of the marketing and the content. I know I've gone through that quite quickly. I think we are definitely going to have some questions. I can already see one here in the question box, which I'm going to get to. And I think we're going to go back to a slide just to talk about it first. But Neil, I think you may have a question that came through from you as well.
Yeah, Kath, thank you, man. That was really good, very detailed. I think that provides all the information that the exhibitors would need. And as Kath mentioned, safety is our utmost priority. And you can see that that's been taken into account. But Kath, before we get to the questions, while we're just looking at the questions, can you just go back to the team so I can showcase the team?
Right at the beginning.
We were so excited to get over to Vanessa. So I know that many of you have dealt with the team before, but just a short introduction to all of them. There's Kath, show director, Melissa, head of marketing. There's Byron, head of operations, Carla, also on the operations side, Mkili on the sales side, Amu, who has just joined us on the marketing side, Jeremy, who I'm sure you've dealt with all before on the account side, and then Tandazo Bliss, as some of you might know her, on the services side, and then Josh, he's our managing director. He'll be walking around and engaging with all of you. So that's the broader team. But back to the questions, we got a question in that I just want to run through here. And Byron, I think this one's actually aimed at you. So it's from Hilton at MDM. And it's just talking about the gate numbers, how they're going to be regulated from a marquee point of view, and how that's different to a walk-in, the open air section, and how you're going to regulate people coming in at the gates. That's the first part of the question. And then the second part of the question is their product is very much interactive. There's touch screen, so they want to showcase their product on screens. So how would stand owners be managing safety and managing the protocols on their own stand, just to make sure that social distancing will be taking place and just making sure that people sanitize beforehand? And how do you see that happening, Byron? So over to you on that.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, those are some good questions. So firstly, on the gate numbers, Kath did touch on it earlier. So we'll do a big push on the pre-registration for attendees, and that will obviously gauge where we stand on what numbers to expect per session. And on top of that, we'll have per minute scanning that will link each one of the zones. So the zones is a big indicator of how many people are allowed into each section, which will divide up and which will create the flow through the event. So from that point, we would scan. Yeah, thanks for that slide. That's perfect. So once you've entered through the COVID checkpoint, the first coding point is the blue zone, or if you're coming from the top side, the red zone into the green zone. So that would then be the first counter into the scanners. And then once you exit a zone, then you scanned out of that zone, and then you rescanned into another zone. So at any given time, at any given point of the day, we know exactly how many people or visitors are in each zone and attending the event as a whole. If we exceed or we are at capacity, that is where our holding areas come into play. So outside of each zone, we have dedicated holding areas what we will put up, which is in theory a hospitality or just a holding zone where you can monitor. If people have left, we would then push them into a zone, and then that would then allow us to also manipulate the flow from each zone. Hopefully that has answered the question. And Kath had mentioned it earlier, we have a dedicated safety officer that is getting the numbers at each minute in each zone, which would allow us to as well communicate with the safety officer. If SAPs need an update, we can give them that update as well. So yeah, to summarize, I think the big plus here is the zones. The zones are the blood of the event, and we can then say where the capacity is and create flow throughout the venue. And your second part of the question, in terms of sanitizing the stands and the best practice, if I can put it that way, we, as the ops team, we have a dedicated ops team that will put together a guideline protocols or best practice where we can then share that with each exhibitor. We'd first communicate with each exhibitor, find out their products. If they need help or assistance in terms of sanitizing or what they think is best, how the engagement per visitor should be, we would then be in contact with them and give them the best practices. So yeah, we are lucky that we have a big ops team, which we'd be in contact with the teams and all the exhibitors. And as I said, we will distribute a best practice per product for the event.
I think just to remember as well, in terms of the sanitizing, is that we have allocated sessions, and in between each of those sessions, there will be a deep sanitizing of the entire venue. So the cleaning team that we have hired will be coming on site for those sessions in between to literally deep sanitize every single area of the venue. And during those times, it will be a session where no one except the cleaning team and potentially the exhibitors will still be allowed on site. So we'll have to flush the venue of visitors, and the entire venue will be cleaned. And then in terms of the ticket numbers as well, this is where it also allows us the opportunity in each of the sessions, because in our best case scenario, we're allowing 500 people in each section. So the outdoor space or potentially the North Wharf space. So each section will be allowed 500 visitors. And with our border controls that Byron is talking about, we'll have a minute by minute play of how many up to that 500 we have in the venue. Obviously, we have to allocate staff that are on site into those numbers. Cape Town works slightly differently to Joburg in that, but the staff and the people on site will be part of that. But we will have a minute by minute allocation of how many people are on site.
Yeah, and just to make the point that the border control at Boatica will be far more effective than bite breach border control, just to get it out there. But really, I think it's a very well thought through plan. I think, as we mentioned, safety is our key priority. And then I think it's also, you know, all the stand owners just need to make sure that they brief their staff and make sure that the staff follow through on the protocols that will be put in place by the operations team. So it's a case of everybody working together to ensure that we're all safe together. And then we've got another question that's come through here from Chris Pretorius, just the regulations of wearing masks at all time. Absolutely, 100%. No mask, no entry. Tariq, are the snow peaks weatherproof? 100%. I think the one, yeah.
Tariq, a snow peak is actually just, it's a smaller marquee. That's all it is. It's a smaller marquee that will have 4 sides. You'll be able to close it at night, so it'll be completely safe as well. It literally, all it is just a smaller version of the big marquee. And the only reason that we are considering this is because as a smaller marquee, obviously, it means that we can classify the event as an outdoor event. So I'm going to go back just on the presentation here to some of the look and feels of what this is. Each of these marquees could potentially have 4 sides. This one is open, but Byron, just stop me if I'm wrong, but the marquees that we are considering are definitely 4 closed sides, or it could be this version where it's a glass door version as well.
Yes, that is correct, Kath. So it has PVC sides. That will all be closed off completely and locked up. And as you say, there's also the option of the glass panels as well.
And then just, Kath, there's this question from Anonymous. Just the fact that after each session, visitors would be removed, and then we would sanitize the venue in that half-an-hour area, in that half-an-hour space.
I'm going to let Byron take this answer because it is something we're also working in another of our events. As far as I understand, when we do clean the venue, the visitors do need to be removed.
Absolutely. So we'll announce the times on the PA system, letting everybody know how much time is left, and then our safety officer with the safety team will do a sweep, and then once the visitors are out, we'll then sanitize the venue.
I've just had another question come through as well, asking about if an exhibitor signs up to this year's event and the event is cancelled, what happens to obviously the contract and the funds if they have been paid. If you do sign up for this year's event and for any reason the event is cancelled or we need to postpone it, what we will do is your stand and the funds that you've paid will be rolled over to our 2022 event. Otherwise, there'll be an option for you to get a full refund as well. So with the event this year, if you sign a contract with us and the event is cancelled, you have two options. We either roll your entire stand and the funds you've paid over to 2022. Otherwise, you will have an option of a full refund for your stand as well. So there is that guarantee if you do decide to join us, which we hope that most of you will, that you've got that guarantee either way, that either you will have your stand confirmed for the following year or you'll get your money back.
No, that's great. I don't see, okay, here we go.
So I do see that the social distancing on the jetty. I'm going to go to the water floor plan quickly, and something we've discussed with the V&A, especially with the numbers on the jetties, because it's something that came up with them as well, is that we will have a one-way flow throughout the water space. So the water space, it actually is quite a large space, even though the jetties are small, and we would be able to push people through their the allocated numbers as per what we've shown here. But with the one-way flow going through the venue, that's how we're going to ensure that obviously the social distancing takes place. Also with the security and the controls that we have, the border controls we're talking about, the security will also be obviously monitoring the social distancing. So the security team, as well as the one-way flow, will definitely assist us in managing that social distancing on the jetties. Cool.
And then Byron, here's a question that's come through. Sanitizing the interior of each boat. Is that, would we do that, or is that for the exhibitor themselves to sanitize their own equipment and machinery?
Absolutely, Neil. So we would do the venues that the event is in. Our safety teams and our cleaning team will not touch your products. They can give guidance and assistance, but we don't really. Just for protection's sake, we don't really think we want some of the cleaning team to sanitize very expensive yachts, if I can put it that way. So we can give guidelines in place, but yeah, we will sanitize each of the venues, do the general areas, and then it's up to exhibitor to sanitize their products and their displays.
Perfect.
I think just in terms of the water exhibitors, especially, I know that most of, or the majority of you have got cleaning teams yourselves that would handle your cleaning anyway. So like Byron says, we'd obviously have the guidelines, which we'll send to all the water exhibitors to let you know how often it should be cleaned. But from previous years and just watching what has happened in the past, that is something that you have done in the past anyway, cleaning your boats continuously and making sure people don't wear their shoes onto the boat. I mean, that's something that you always do anyway. So in this case, it would just be an instance of maybe spraying the visitors' hands before they come on board and asking them not to touch any surfaces, and then restricting the amount of people that you allow on board at a time would be the only other thing that we'd put as part of the guidelines that we'd send you before the event when you sign up.
Yeah, and then also just in our previous events, everybody that's going onto a boat normally puts those shoe covers on anyway, and that's also another form of protection, and actually a very, very important form of protection. So I think everybody just working together, keeping everybody safe, I think we'll be absolutely fine. Kath, are there any other questions? I don't see anything else coming through.
I don't see, unless anyone quickly wants to type one, but I don't see anything. I will go to the here so that we can get. We do have a quick poll that we'd like everybody to answer. The session has been recorded, so we will send it out to you. But I think before Neil closes and we do the poll, for us, it's obviously, we can't run the event without the support of you as exhibitors. And this is what we need to understand after today is after hearing the guidelines and what we've prepared to put in place along with the VNA, we want to know if you're still comfortable to be part of an exhibition or not, or if you think we should be running this event in 2022. So that's the main aim out of today, is to understand whether everybody would still be interested or not. We will be contacting all of you individually to see if you've got everything you needed out of this presentation. But I think, Neil, is there anything else you need to add in the interim?
No, nothing. But yeah, please will you complete this one question? I'm going to launch it now. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds just to answer it, and then we'll take it from there. So this is the last thing you have to do for today, and then you can go all relax. So the poll is being launched. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time just to complete this.
So again, this is just asking if you think that you would be interested, and we're going to take a little bit of time to chat to each of you to understand your requirements, if you do have any, and if you would be interested. But this will just give us a really good idea whether you think the event should be taking place this year or not. Obviously, we are very excited to host an event and would love to host an event, but we can't do it without your support. So let's see what the outcome of this is, and see what the majority is. How are we going?
100%. And for those of you who are still a little bit unsure, that's absolutely fine. Kath and the team will engage with you guys. Let's talk about all the concerns that you've got, and let's come up with a plan that suits your needs at that specific time. And then, guys, we need 10 more people to vote. So if you're one of the 10 that haven't voted, you're holding up the works. So please just, we're waiting for 9 more votes and then we're done, but I'm going to call it in 10 seconds. So please get your final vote in. Okay, 5, 4, 3. Okay, we've got 5 people to go. Let's get 100%. You can do it. No, I think that's great. I'm going to end the polling now, and I'm going to share the results with everybody so you can all see. And that is 87% of people that have joined today. I'm going to share the results and you'll be able to see. There we go. So 67% said that you will be attending, and 25% would require more information. And we will be getting hold of you guys. So please, let's keep the conversation going. I think it's really, really important. I think let's kickstart summer with Boatica. I love that, Vanessa. That's really cool. And yeah, let's just work together to make this a memorable Boatica in the circumstances that we currently face. And then just to close, just on behalf of the Boatica team, just a big thank you for joining us today for this session. We know how busy everybody is. And we really look forward to engaging more deeply with you. And then Vanessa, just a big thanks again for being part of it. Looking forward to engage with you and Bruce again. And Kath and Byron, thank you so much. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks for your time, everybody. Take care.